It's the last day in the month that we use to celebrate our island's food producers. Though the month has come to a close, we encourage you to continue your support of the nation's farmers by buying locally produced food. That's one sure way of growing the economy and making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Your favorite magazine program starts right now. Stay with us.
Our farmers are hardworking, and I want to let them know that we are going to give them every support possible, right?
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, April 30. The Norman Manley International Airport, NMIA, has introduced a solar system that both reduces the carbon footprint and draws less power from the public grid to supply electricity to aircraft parked at one of its terminal gates. The solar-powered generational facility has been installed at NMIA's Terminal Gate Number 1.
Some benefits of the IKO Solar Gate project includes elimination of carbon dioxide emission resulting from jet fuel-powered onboard engines and traditional ground power units. Reduction in greenhouse gas, and approximately 53,000 kilograms annually. Reduction in incidence of health problems from particle matters in fossil fuels, thus promoting a safer work environment.
The Solar at the Gate pilot project is the first of its kind to offer zero carbon dioxide emissions. It's an initiative of the International Civil Aviation Organization, United Nations Development Program Global Environment Facility. The Senate has begun its deliberations on the new road traffic bill. The legislation was passed in the lower house with 131 amendments on February 6. It seeks to repeal and replace the existing 1938 Act and will establish new offenses as well as provide increased penalties for breaches. On Friday, Leader of Government Business in the Upper House, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, piloted the bill and introduced a 38-page list of amendments. While lawmakers debate the bill's clauses, Senator Johnson-Smith is appealing for road users to exercise greater care to prevent more fatalities from traffic crashes.
Because of this culture of indiscipline on our roads, however, we also need our long outdated laws to be in order, to ensure better order and the enforcement of order on our roads.
There were 321 deaths from road crashes in 2017. Government is eyeing the export potentials from recent tests at the University of the West Indies, which have revealed that the oil extracted from Jamaican ganja has a 94% purity level. Ganja oil is the major ingredient used in medicinal ganja projects, one of the fastest growing industries worldwide. Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw says the UWI's test results presents good possibilities for Jamaica as the world average of ganja oil purity is 70%.
Jamaica ahead again. 94% purity. That is our gold. That is one of our gold. We're talking about medicinal ganja. Extracting the oil using sophisticated machinery and extracting the oil from the ganja plant. And that oil is a major ingredient in a whole range of medical products being manufactured all across the world.
Minister Shaw was addressing farmers at a sensitization meeting in Manchester recently. He said samples from the test had been sent abroad for further testing to be validated on an international scale, which would allow for exportation of the Jamaican ganja oil. The Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation will soon launch a program that is aimed at enabling adolescent mothers to complete their secondary and tertiary education. It's called the A-Stream Program, Advancing Secondary, Tertiary, and Remedial Education for Adolescent Mothers. It was announced at a recent JIS think tank that the program will be launched on May 26 at the Center's 40th anniversary charity ball to be held at the Jamaica Pegasus. Director of Field Operations at the Women's Center, Beverly Martin Berry, says the aim is to empower young women.
So the program is what we will say threefold. We'll be focusing on mentorship, sponsorship, and scholarship. The aim is to pair 40 girls with 40 women to be mentored by these women. We're seeking to have 40 girls being sponsored with a total of $40,000 as bursaries so that they can enable the process of reintegration into the formal school system.
The program will be rolled out across the island in September 2018. And finally, for the 5th year running, a number of tertiary students in Western Jamaica will receive bursaries and scholarships from money raised at the Mobay City Run. This annual charity event primarily provides scholarships for tertiary students facing financial challenges, but support is also given at the high school and early childhood levels.
We have seen where we have changed the lives of many students coming from many depressed communities. Sometimes they are the first ones in their families to get access to tertiary education.
And the good thing about this is that we don't hold these applicants to any binding agreement to say that they must give back, because really this committee is a spirit of volunteerism.
The Mobay City Run organizers were speaking at a recent JIS think tank in the second city. They revealed that over $15 million has been disbursed since the event's start in 2014, and this year's goal is to raise $5 million in support of students at 1 secondary and 4 tertiary institutions. The 2018 staging is slated for May 6 at the Old Hospital Park on Gloucester Avenue. Starting at 6 a.m., 5,000 participants will compete in 10K and 5K races. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
If you're watching the JIS, you're always in the know when it comes to government information and news. Keep watching, keep informed, and tell your friends. JIS, your #1 source for government info.
Catch up on the latest news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister next.
We're growing, yes, but very slowly. I'm confident, however, that we are on the right track.
We will solve the squatting problem.
And
we must ensure that your contributions are lasting and to the benefit of generations to come.
You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he's satisfied that government is implementing well-tried and well-studied policies to achieve economic growth. Though Jamaica is growing slower than expected, Mr. Holness says he's confident that the island is on the right track.
We're doing the things that are necessary, and we're not hoping for growth to happen organically. We are right there in the field with you, doing the granular things.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at Friday's closing ceremony for the 2-year pilot phase of the Innovation Grant from New Ideas to Entrepreneurship Ignite project. The function also served as the launch of Phase 2 of the project, which is being facilitated by the Development Bank of Jamaica. Ignite provides grant funding support for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, a move which Prime Minister Holness says is a priority for the government. Prime Minister Holness made a similar charge on Tuesday.
Until our public service recognizes that they have to give a premium of speed of doing business so that investments can come here, so that the country can grow, so that we can get more taxes, so that we can pay them better, then we will be constantly stuck in a cycle where we are trying to argue over how much to pay and how much what sector should get with a pie that is not growing.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness was speaking at Tuesday's groundbreaking for the construction of 230 affordable homes at Delacree Pen in St. Andrew. Foreshore Estate is a gated community that represents a public-private partnership between the National Housing Trust and World Homes Jamaica Limited. At the groundbreaking, Mr. Holness said government would solve the informal settlement issue by increasing these kinds of partnerships. While at Tuesday's groundbreaking, Prime Minister Holness also unveiled government's plan for further development of the Marcus Garvey Drive corridor. He said lands had been leased to create a logistics hub in the area. Meanwhile, infrastructure work has begun at the intersection of Hagley Park Road, Marcus Garvey Drive and Spanish Town Road.
The overall plan for this area is that it will become the community that supports the logistics hub initiative, which will run all along Marcus Garvey Drive into the Newport area and into the ports of Kingston.
After making those announcements, it was back to Jamaica House for a meeting with a 4-member entrepreneurship team from the Career Advancement Program CAP. The team placed second and won $7,000 at the recently concluded Diamond Challenge for high school entrepreneurs held at the University of Delaware. In the social innovation segment, the CAP team created a lamp from recycled plastic, which can also charge small electronic devices.
My advice to you would be to, at an early age, make a decision. The beauty of that advice is that even if what you decided to do doesn't work out, the point of fact is that you would be working towards a goal. So you are using your life to get to a point rather than your life is just carrying you to any point.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness charged to members of the Bogwalk High School Boys Big Up program. At Wednesday's meeting, Mr. Holness lauded educators for the initiative, which rewards boys for displaying good behavior and deportment. And the doors of the courtesy room were flung open for the newly accredited Chinese ambassador to Jamaica. During Wednesday's introductory courtesy call, the ambassador and the Prime Minister spoke about deepening cooperation on mutually beneficial growth-inducing projects.
Your service has undoubtedly made the country's economic, social, and cultural fabric richer and stronger.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness lauding 65 individuals and organizations for giving sterling service to the nation. The grouping were recipients of the Prime Minister's commemorative Jamaica 55 Medal of Appreciation Wednesday. And that's how we close Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
How well do you know your child? What he or she likes or dislikes? Favorite food or color? How about who their friends are? Make the time. Get to know your child. It helps to build their relationship. Makes it easy to keep them safe, and it helps their development process.
Every child must learn is the mantra of the Jamaican government. And as you'll see in this next feature, it is a commitment to every child, regardless of their particular educational needs.
So much has been done by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to advance learning of deaf students. And with me to talk about these achievements is Education Officer within the Ministry, Christina Addington. Welcome, Mrs. Addington.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about the different stages of hearing loss and how it affects the ability to learn in the traditional school system.
Okay, well, Andrew, hearing loss occurs on a continuum based going from hard of hearing to deafness. And on this continuum, there are different levels. So we start off with a mild hearing loss, then you can have a moderate loss, a severe loss, or a profound loss. It's important to note that it is the level of loss being experienced by the child that really impacts on if the child is able to be educated in the traditional system or if the child has to be educated in a segregated system. For children who experience mild hearing losses, For the most part, they're able to cope and experience success in the regular school system. But for this to happen, there have to be a couple factors that have to be in place. Firstly, the student has to be amplified, fitted with hearing aids. The child has to be in a small school setting, most importantly, in a small class size, so that there's not a lot of background information to distort information being shared between teacher and the students in the classroom environment. Another thing is the teacher working with a child has to ensure that she or he utilizes specific strategies that will help the child maximize whatever residual hearing that the child has. So things like placing the child at the front of the class. The teacher has to also remember he or she cannot turn their backs to the class while teaching. They have to ensure that they always have the child's attention, let them know, let the child know when they're speaking to them. And the greatest thing I think also is that the parents have to be very, very involved, because once there's great parent involvement in the educational life of the child with a mild loss, then this will better ensure success.
So Mrs. Addington, how many specialized schools are there for these students?
Well, to date we have 7 special education schools for the deaf across the island in Jamaica. We have 3 public schools which are operated in partnership between the Ministry of Education and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. These are the Danny Williams School for the Deaf. They are in Kingston, in Pope Estate, Papine, and they have 2 satellites. One, a preschool center, which is attached to the school, and another unit class at the Excelsior Primary School. The St. Christopher School for the Deaf is also a primary school, and that school is in Brownstown, St. Anne, and it has a boarding facility. And Lister Mayor Gilby High School for the Deaf is the high school for the deaf. And that school has 2 satellites. So they have a satellite in Maypen and they have a satellite in Port Antonio. The other 4 schools are private schools. They are the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf. They operate 3 schools, one in St. James, one in Manchester, and one in Kingston. And the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf, and they operate in Lethe, St. James.
So how has the ministry been advancing the learning of these students in these particular institutions?
Well, the ministry has been playing its part. For the most part, there is greater interaction and greater support to the public schools. One of the things that the ministry has done a couple of years ago, through discussions, the special education unit lobbied for posts of teachers' assistants to be established for the schools, special schools. And so the schools for the deaf, all the schools for the deaf, public schools, they got teachers' assistants. It's important to note that these teachers' assistants, they're not called teachers' assistants in the schools for the deaf, but they're called deaf culture facilitators. So although their role is to assist in helping the teachers to bring across the concepts, they also have another, which is a more important role, which is they are the deaf models for the children. The children are deaf, they are deaf, so the children have models and they display the culture, the deaf culture. So then and there, the children are seeing and learning about their culture and learning that it is okay to be deaf. They're deaf and it's a part of life and how they can succeed. The ministry also has put in place quality education circles, and all the schools for the deaf are engaged in a quality education circle. So the principals meet with administrators from other schools, they share information, and so the principals are able to learn and get advice and share information. The high school for the deaf has benefited from being placed on the e-learning Jamaica project, and so all the teachers there have been trained and are better equipped to, infuse the technology into the teaching learning process.
So what are the advantages of learning in these specialized institutions?
Main advantage, I would say, is at the schools for the deaf, the pupil-teacher ratio is 8:1. So we talk about 8 students to 1 teacher. Now, when you compare that with a regular school system where it's 1:35, but in most cases 1:40 or some more, we can say that the children are in a setting which makes concessions that they cannot hear, so they need more time to be spent interacting, engaging in learning. That the teachers, for the most part, in these institutions are special education trained. So the teachers are trained in deaf education, and while in school they have what they call in-service training, where the Jamaica Association for Deaf provides training in them gaining Jamaican Sign Language competence. So we know that the teachers, are being trained to effectively communicate with the children. So they're getting the information because it's being effectively passed on to them in a manner which they understand. The methodologies used are methodologies which are specific for enhancing learning with the population. And as I say, small setting, persons know and better understand them and are better able to work with them.
Perfect note to end on, and signs for you to follow up on. We want to thank Mrs. Christina Addington from the Special Education Unit in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information for sharing with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, until next time, see you around.
As we close out Farmers Month, we hear of this grower's inspirational journey into this critical profession.
All this from just 3 peas.
While we're coming, I saw 2 grain of peas on the road and I picked it up. I take it home with me and I planted it beside my callaloo garden at the home.
This was in 1982 and the 3rd pea was found just a few days later at the same spot.
I saw a sucker. I just take my machete, take it up like that, and I hold it like that and go to the field. And I planted it there. And that's how I started. From then, I keep planting and keep planting, and I buy a cow out of it, I raise chickens out of it, and I feel delighted to keep on doing it. As the message is that we might not have the wing way of life to fly up, but with small grains and have the courage to do it, we can reach somewhere.
Words of wisdom from Zephaniah Gibson, affectionately called Reuben, which somehow evolved into Benjamin. This West Rural St. Andrew farmer is proof positive that big things can come from small starts. It's a message he's eager to share, using his success as an example, from 3 peas planted in 1982 to close to 1 acre being sown and reaped today. It's a journey that has been documented in a manuscript titled Benjamin's Adventure.
And it born out of a desire to help those who are lazy. You don't want to do anything. And you say, this little morsel or this little, 2 grain is too small to start with. But Benjamin started with it. And it wasn't hard to do it for me because I love farming. And here is it today, rain in abundance.
Mr. Gibson, or Benjamin, is a farmer at heart, working the soil every chance he gets.
I would not live nowhere if I don't have even a square like this to plant something. I don't want it to live. No. Planting is my nature and I enjoy. And every day, you know what is big thing? 365 days make a year. And last year I've never bought 1 grain of peas, heating my rice and peas.
And this passion has him planting just about anything.
If you want me to cut it, make it very pretty. And it's 10 pumpkin come on the 1 tree. So I picked up 3 already. This is the 4th one, and I have 6 more. This is a blue and white Sylvans. This yam heat very delicious.
Mr. Gibson embodies the Ministry of Agriculture's Grow What We Eat, Eat What We Grow campaign. From his humble farm, he has been able to feed his family and provide for them from the sale of his produce.
I use the farm as a source of backup along with my trade. I am a skilled stone mason. I do painting otherwise and masonry. Looking back, if I had to do it over again, I would still do it because I thank God He gave me strength to do it and the courage to do it. I'm a happy farmer. I'm a happy Benjamin.
At home in Salisbury Plain District, St. Andrew, his wife gives him the support he needs.
We prayed and asked God to bless whatever He put in the earth. And I know that the Lord did what we have asked Him for. Little is much when God is in it. I didn't plan to marry a farmer, but I have no regrets. He's very hardworking and willing to do. When he reap the crop, I sit down and I shell out the peas them, and then we put it to sun, and sometimes we sell it to neighbors and sometimes far out. And he saves his money, and that helps support us very well, and I thank God for that. We live as a loving people, helpful to each other, anything we share among ourselves.
Things are good now, but Zephaniah Gibson has had moments of hardship, like losing a whole field of young plants to heavy rainfall. But he got up and got to planting again.
Although I am not down on my face, I am not going to lie there. I am going to stand tall and fight on. I said, courage, brother, do not falter. I still decided not to stop because food is a must. Food must come from somewhere and it must be planted. You can join the ranks too. Stop digging out your hand, Miguel. Join the ranks. Stop wasting time. Farm the land to feed your friend.
And that's where we leave you on this edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us round about the same time on the station tomorrow. We're available at your leisure in cyberspace. There's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube. There's also our trusted website, jis.gov.jm, and our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.